This is day 102, the late edition. See the earlier edition today. I'm not going to go over all the details, but one of the couple of things happened today. I met with the kind of the what I call the Hollywood couple today. Almost, it just reminded me so much of Valerie Plame and Joe Wilson. It just same sort of thing. You know, the beautiful wife and the really super river runs deep thinking, husband. I won't use their real names. I'll just say Valerie and Joe from here on now. But they seem to know everyone in Hollywood, and they're shopping this documentary, sort of like the Snowden documentary. So that's going on, and thanks to all the contributors who do so much to make this story great. And I told them, I said, I get these responses, these incredible responses from the contributors every day. When I say something, I get these, like I talked about, the trying to genetically alter immune systems so that the organs of the people who are affected will be easier to transplant. They'll have less of an HLA. It's called an HLA match. They'll have a less problem going into other bodies. And I got an immediate response from one of the researchers, Bebop, about that exact thing being done in South Korea, that exact genetic modification being done to a large mammal, a pig in this case. Pig is extremely close to the human in a lot of ways in terms of genetic model organism. And how could I do that on my own? I called it. I told them. I said I called it 1,000 fruitful searches. Peter Gabriel had the song 1,000 fruitless searches. So I've changed that because every time I do an episode, it launches 1,000 searches out there, and all the relevant data comes back and really makes the story. And I called it the open newsroom. This is kind of an open newsroom. I think Sibel Edmonds is closest to this with NewsBud, but I think there's more of an interactivity between myself and the researchers. So, and I told them, I said, I have no idea where this story is going on a day-to-day basis. I follow the facts. I follow the citations. I follow the patterns. I follow the previous reports. And I had no idea at the beginning of this series that we would be talking about DynCorp. I had no idea we'd be talking about stingers, sarin gas, and sex and drug trafficking and blood and organ harvesting. I had no idea. And creating viruses to make organs, to weaken the immune system of a whole population, let's say of Haiti, to make their organs easier to transplant. Who would have thought that's where the story would have gone? But I just keep following the facts, and I just keep getting mountains of evidence, sources and citations that control this story. So they were asking, well, is there a script and so forth? And I say, there's no script. It's just these researchers, these incredible researchers that give me the data. So that's really what's going on here. So Haiti. Haiti turns out to be the key to the whole thing. It unlocks everything. Haiti is a victim of these vaccines, these viruses and vaccines. Haiti's a victim of the organ harvesting. Haiti's a victim of the sex trafficking and drug trafficking. Everything, it's this little microcosm that you can understand everything. And I look at it like a model organism. In medicine, they have a model organism that you can study, like, the mustard seed plant, and then you can study yeast and so on, going up the chain. And it's a way of helping biology and med students understand so that they can move on, and understand. And Haiti's really that is the model organism. It's the model state for understanding everything. It's for understanding the virus vaccine thing. It's understanding the sex, drug, gun trafficking thing. And it's for understanding the organ, blood mining thing. Everything. Haiti is it in a microcosm. I watched this Russian documentary that they did after Kosovo. At Kosovo, they did a lot of organ harvesting from Serbian prisoners. And it turns out that Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders in English, is Soros company, directly in the middle of the whole thing. Exactly what I've said about the white helmets. It says Médecins Sans Frontières is that organization. Again, it hurts my heart because my son's going to about ready to become a doctor, and I wanted him to go in Médecins Sans Frontières. So 99.9% of these people are the most dedicated people, braving bombing attacks and so forth during the day. It's that 2 to 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. where these organs are being harvested, and prisoners are being taken to these secret prisons. They're being blood mined in these secret prisons. And once you establish a pattern like that with an absolute deluge, a tidal wave, a tsunami of evidence, I mean, just Google Kosovo and organ harvesting. It'll just, or look at the links below. And you understand that Hillary is the shadow Secretary of State at that time. She's the one who came in under gunfire, and then got the flowers from little kids, on the runway. That was her baby. This is this recurring. Kosovo is just this recurring stamp. That's Uganda. It's Congo. They do a lot in Africa first because they figure the U.S. press cares the least about Africa. If it works in Africa and they don't get any pushback, then they move to Haiti, and then once it's in Haiti, then it's Chicago. That's the pattern. So I just keep getting more and more situations where Médecins Sans Frontières is involved. It's George Soros. The riots in Berkeley today are obviously Soros driven. It's just this repeating pattern. If you don't expose it, then it just gets worse. Now, there was 21 emails that came out today with Judicial Watch, and they said Chatwal, the guy in India, said he wanted to be at the White House for lunch and dinner. So what? It's just ridiculous. Out of 650,000 emails, 21 emails released. So they're trying to slow foot the investigation. It's so obvious. But here's really what I think happened. World Vision, like I said, they gave a vaccine, that 2011 vaccine that weakened the immune system genetically. If I vector in a virus into a population, I can make that population lose their immune system strength. And you do that through these HLA proteins, which I won't go into the technical match of that, but you have to have a match, to be a good kidney donor. Well, anyway, they developed this pig so that you could suppress those HLA antigens on your cells. Every time you suppress those and do this HLA 73, it's called, it makes your organs easier to harvest. This is what's happening. And I told Valerie and Joe, their code names there today, the producers, the Hollywood couple, that if you go here and you do a blood panel, if you do a blood testing panel of 3 independent tests, 500 per person, you're going to have a deficiency, or you're going to have a HLA 73 in Haiti. Haiti is being farmed for having an easily transferable set of organs, as well as stem cells, as well as the bone marrow stem cells, as well as cord blood. You only have to look as far as Bill Swing to see this happening before. I've said this over and over again, and the research just keeps bearing this out. It's almost like I don't even have to Google anymore. It just okay. Let's switch off topic on that. This is Jorge Puelo. Jorge is in communication. He said, "Hey, I served my time. I'm not wanted anymore, so I apologize." Jorge Puelo is not wanted for sex trafficking anymore. He served his 20 months. He's convicted for that. He's saying to the group, "Oh, I want to expose all the people in Haiti and Colombia and El Salvador and Nicaragua that were involved in this." So he wants to expose the downstream. And he could say any name, and he could send researchers off in 1,000 different directions. What I want him to talk about is the upstream. Tell me who the political officer was, or who the political military officer was at USAID, at the State Department, that set these operations up. That's what I want Jorge to say. So I know Jorge's talking to a lot of the people that are reporters on this channel. So I'll just let that develop. But Jorge, the interest isn't downstream because those are the little fish. We want to go upstream to who are the people in the State Department that ordered you to set up these operations. That's the key. That's the key. Because you're not going to drain the swamp by going downstream to some barkeeper in Haiti where people have these meetings. And I know Singa Thomas and I know Jeff Solis are going to be those people. They have to understand that we know that this is the Obama thing, sitting in the meeting with the French, or not the French, the Turkish governor, minister of information, the CIA guy for Turkey. Hey, Fidan, we know it was you that did the gas attacks. We're not going to bomb. We're not going to bomb Syria. This is the same thing. Jorge, we know it's Jeff Solis, okay? We know it's Singa, okay? So just come out and say that, and say who are the operatives that you were working with, who set it up, when did you get them? Now he says he has email, he has all the official documents. Just publish it. Just publish it to one of the reporters. That's all I'm asking. So they always want to diffuse and then have you go off in these wacky directions. So anyway, Petit Frère et Sœur is going to be this kind of little incubator for the virus vectors and how the immune systems are being affected in these kids. These kids were all sick. So unlike the child trafficking, everybody thinks, oh, they're child trafficking these kids to I'm sure there was some of the cute kids that got taken up to Dominican Republic. But most of the kids here are in this laboratory, and the CIA officer, Conway, she's recording how the immune system is being compromised and how transferable their organs are. So blood cultures, taking that sort of information. So again, Operation Underground Railroad, Jorge, just send us all the email regarding it, and then you're off the hooks. You say you got the email, just push it out. Just say, hey, this is the email that I got from Claude Destre, or the email I got from Tim Ballard, saying we're going to set up the room on this day with this many cameras, with this many girls, and we're going to invite these political people. That's what you need to do, and then you'll clear your name. So here's Tim Ballard. I'm sure he's going to be one of the people in the email. I keep forgetting the correct vaccine here, but the PPD vaccines, just tell us who you're working with. You know, who are the officers in Colombia, in El Salvador, and Nicaragua? Just produce that information, and we're good to go. So you have a chance to be a real hero, you know, Jorge. And if you want to talk about the hospital ships, let's talk about the hospital ships and talk about how you worked with local people to set up meetings and set up and talk about transplants and so forth. So these are the kind of things Jorge was working on. These railroad operations, or brownstones, or whatever you want to call them. Prove me right and send all this information to the reporters on this group, and then we'll be fine. You know, I think this is a real chance for you to expose what the State Department, CIA is actually doing. When I met Joe and Valerie, they said, "Oh, did you have a chart showing how much somebody is worth?" So this is, I call the doctor, doc operation. You remember the old game? Most people on this channel probably don't remember that game, but we played a lot as a kid. And it should have an operation where you pull out the liver and it goes ding, like a slot machine does, you know, for 157,000. And then you pull out the kidneys and it goes ding, for the kidney at 262,000. So these UAE doctors, somebody said, oh, Abu Dhabi is the capital, not Dubai of UAE. And I'm sorry about that. I just meant the UAE was this funnel point. Basically, the UAE and Qatar, they're just break-offs of Saudi Arabia or of that peninsula to make sure that there's a separate place for the elite, okay, for the oil rights and the elite. So all this breakup, it's the same thing as Yugoslavia, it's the same thing of breakup as of Russia. You do the breakup so you have political control of rights of drilling and mining. So, but anyway, this is the funnel point for the doctor training, that you're going to find these doctors coming in from, if you can't get an operation in, let's say, Israel, you're going to end up having to go to UAE to get the operation. You've got the heart transplant or the liver transplant or the, kidney transplant, etc. So, and the other one's going to be Qatar. I'm going to leave it there. We had a good chat tonight on the film about these elites. It really is about the CIA. When they go into a country, they do not care whatsoever about anybody other than the top 1% and the elites. And they're marketing this plan saying, do you think everlasting life is possible? How long do you want to live? The reason why people die is heart failure and lung failure. That's Dr. Eric Braverman saying that. What if I could get you another heart to extend your life another 20 years? How much more time could you spend with your grandchildren with those 20 years? You're a renowned scientist, or whatever they say. You're a renowned, anthropologist. What would it mean to the world if you lived another 20 years? So that's all for tonight. Thanks.